Welcome to the Holding Priority Podcast, the Magic the Gathering CDH podcast. I'm Cardboard Cryptid.
And I'm the Gaming Ghost.
On today's episode, we'll discuss upcoming CDH commanders.
Yeah, some new contenders are sneaking their way in, and some old favorites too, kind of looming in the darkness back there.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to see new stuff kind of shaking up. Before we get into that, let's go into the shuffle up. So we got a couple of new comments, specifically about MagicCon. I had a lot of people hit me up personally about that episode. If you guys want to, we have our link tree. We have Twitter, all that stuff. If you want to reach out, of course, comments are the best way because it kind of pushes people to the video. The more comments there are. We also are working on Blue Sky as a platform. I'm seeing a lot of Magic creators kind of leave Twitter a little bit. I'm going to stay on both, but Blue Sky, from what I understand, is not going to have like AI crawling on it. So, like,
No,
if you're a artist, your art won't be training an AI model. And a lot of what I like about Twitter is the magic artists. So when I saw that they were kind of shifting over, I was just like, oh, I kind of want to see that magic art. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of good art in Magic.
yeah, but we'll still be on all of them. Usually when a new platform comes up, people will be on it for a little bit and then drop it. But this one seems like it's keeping up some steam, so pretty cool. But going into the shuffle up, one person reached out and they said that the bathroom story was really funny. If you did not watch that episode, that bathroom situation was pretty wild at MagicCon.
I think it's just a numbers game. There's maybe 7 bathrooms total in the place and
Oh no, I
hundreds of people.
wish there was 7 bathrooms. There was one on the bottom, one on the top, and then outside there was another one. So there were
Mhm.
3 bathrooms.
And just in general, there's 80% guys or
Yeah.
so.
Oh, at least like 80 is a nice percentage.
Yeah, yeah. So if you happen to use the ladies' restroom, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
If not, you might be stuck.
Yeah. Koka Shimoda on YouTube, which is a really cool name, says sounds like a fun time. Definitely was.
It's a great
Yeah,
time.
it was a lot of fun. Don't know if I can do it, 5 months from now. Patrick Owens was also kind of bringing that up that with there only being about 3 MagicCons a year and all in the same place, and them kind of shuffling around the dates, it was kind of hard to look at 2025 and say like, "Hey, I'm going to go to Vegas," just because like I think it's in the middle of summer too, so
No, yeah.
yeah, not too sure if we'll be going to that one, but
Maybe change it up and look at Chicago.
yeah, and we're also going to do a like a retrospect for 2024 where we'll talk about like all the stuff we did. Like the other day we were kind of talking to our friends and I brought up one of the tournaments that I topped 4 in and they were like, "That was this year?" And I was like, "Yeah, like that was January 2024." And I only know cuz I posted about it. So it was a very full year. Lots of progress,
A lot of
lot of fun.
a lot of things happening as far as Commander goes
I mean, I think
this
we
year.
almost went to like half a dozen conventions almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. But yep, that's going to be in the future. Please make sure that you're leaving comments on our episode just with feedback. Just tell us that, it sounded like a fun time, anything like that. Also, if you have ideas for podcast suggestions or subjects, it really helps to let us know. With Foundations coming out, there's not going to be many releases, so we'll actually be able to do something other than set reviews, which is pretty rare. Uh, so just kind of toss us some ideas, follow us on social media. If you don't know how to find those social medias, we should be just holding priority podcast everywhere. We do have a link tree though. It's always down in the description that has a link to everything we're working on, whether it's active like up. Like we do have a Patreon that we're working on, but haven't opened it up yet just because I want to make sure that when we do open it up, there's something of value for people if they're gonna give us a couple dollars a month. Not too sure what that is or what we'll have bandwidth for, but it is there if you kind of want to follow us. And if you just like the podcast, you think we're cool, you want to buy us a pack of magic cards, you don't want to do a recurring subscription or anything like that, Ko-Fi is there. You can just toss us a fiver and we'll go buy magic cards from a really nice lady.
And a dog.
Yeah. And then if you're just like, I just want to listen to the podcast, I want to subscribe, I want to comment, that's great. That's a free way that you can support us. Also, if you're just like, hey, I am going to buy a whole bunch of TCG player cards, is there a link I can use to let TCG player know that you sent me there? We have that on the link tree. Really, really helps us. Right now, that's a great free way that you can just go like, oh, hey, I like this podcast. I want to support them a little bit. I'm going to click this link. Literally costs me nothing extra. And they get a little bit of support. And it also helps kind of feed our ability to attract
Algorithm and
like
such.
algorithms and people that can collab with us. So helps a lot.
Also, being that it's the holiday season right now, it's easy just to click on it, do your shopping,
Yep.
shows a little support for us.
Yeah. If you've got some friends that are looking for cards and you're just like, oh, hey, there's a link right down below. I don't even have to type it in. Helps us, helps you. Thank you so much. And then, as always, best way to support us, show us to your friends, comment, subscribe, set the podcast auto download. If you have an episode that you really really like, please post it on your Facebook. Be like, this guy's awesome. Your Twitter, your Blue Sky, whatever. If you tag us, I'll give you a little thumbs up in the comments. uh, best and by far the best way to support the podcast, getting it out to more people. And if you do get it out to more people, not the early episodes, please, because we've grown a lot since then.
Oh,
Much better audio quality.
I mean, either way.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about upcoming CDH commanders.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're listening on a podcast platform, we will have a visual component over on YouTube. Same as always, we'll read the card, talk about the card. You shouldn't need the visual component and actually seeing the magic card up top. But if you're one of those people that like to have the visual element, I know I am, hop over to our YouTube, check it out. We'll have the card up the entire time we're talking about it.
Mm.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we wanted to focus on 10 commanders that have either top 16 or we see a lot of personal like growth with the card or see a lot of potential. Um, Pretty much all of these except for the last one, which I'm just going to spoil it. It's going to be Storm. Has seen at least a top 16 since the bans. So that doesn't really count like how big the tournament is. It's all 60 plus tournaments. But if you have your eyes on a new commander and you're just kind of itching to make a deck, um, one of these 10 might be a good idea to kind of shake up your CDH pod at home. And they all look pretty fun too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Some weird color combinations as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. This one is Galarb, Calamities Augur. Calamities Augur?
Calamities.
Yeah. It's a black, green, and blue, so a 3 CMC commander. Legendary creature, Frog Wizard Noble. Death Touch. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library. Tap it to surveil 2. It is a 2/4 legendary frog. The reason that this is on here is because it's a frog, first and foremost.
Also, the color combination, like I was kind of hinting at earlier, is not something you normally see in green, black, and blue.
Yeah.
Like they usually don't go to top that I can think of.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Glarb is basically like you always have an eight maximum hand because you have your 7, and then you can always look and cast, low cost spells and lands, or, like, play lands and cast low cost spells from the top of your deck.
I thought it was greater. Did I read it wrong? Or greater.
Oh, 4 or greater. So you
Yes,
may
that's a little
play lands
strange.
and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater. But that's still, like, your free spells,
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
like Force of Will and
And it holds Rollick and a couple other ones since
yeah.
it's
Letting Williad, oh, I don't know, Williadl. He was the pilot of this deck. The deck is called And You Thought Nadu Was Bad, Glarb, Calamity Augur, CDH. Description is mid-range deck that tries to abuse playing lands from the top of the deck and free spells generate card advantage. Um, this deck is kind of a classic Sultai deck. It looks like it kind of just, for the most part, controls the board, kind of plays sheriff a little bit until it can generate so much value that it runs away with it. It is running Bolas's Citadel, Etherflex Reservoir, Sensei's Divining Top, along with a bunch of win the game spells like Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. Consecrate Sphinx, which is not a win the game spell, but
pretty close in
basically,
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty
Like,
close in this.
and you can cast it from the top. Urtai is another thing that you can cast from the top. Notion Thief, Seedborn Muse. It's 4 greater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shieldred, Subtlety, which is you could evoke Subtlety, which is pretty cool.
Mm.
Talion, Timeless Witness, but it's also running like Thassa's Oracle. So a lot of just, hey, the board's locked down. Let me get out of here with Thassa's Oracle. Like there's a deafening silence, and I just don't want to deal with it. Plus Valley Fled Color. Um,
Uh,
and is running to me what is the strongest spell in the game right now, Culling Ritual, which you can cast from the top of your library with Garb. So you could potentially what is it? Mystic. Yeah, Mystical Tutor it to the top.
and
And then
then,
just be like, all right, well, I'll cast Culling Ritual from the top of my deck.
well, what I think's kind of cool here is the Etherflux combo.
Yeah.
Normally you would need Bola Citadel to kind of run through it,
But you
but you can literally use that same the commander in a lot of cases to kind of get started.
well, usually what you're doing is Sensei's Divining Top, which you can't cast because it's under 3.
That's true, but I mean, just getting it to that point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could put Glarb down and have Etherflux Reservoir and be like, let's go, let's try it. Yeah.
Yeah, just try to get to the end of it. Yeah.
And then they're also running like Counterbalance and Necropotence. And they're able to cast Baleful Mastery from the top, exile target creature, Planeswalker. You can cast it for 2. Um,
Oh yeah.
so like it on the top it is 3, but you could cast it for 2. Deadly Rollick, Delightful Discovery, which is one of the jumpstart cards that we talked about. This spell
Um,
costs 1 less to cast for each spell your opponents have cast this turn. So like they could know that that's on top and then just be like, all right,
Let me get 2 cards.
yeah.
That's
Force of
cool.
Vigor, Force of Will, Mindbreak Trap, Submerge.
I like Submerge.
Yeah, I took it out of Storm, but I think I'm gonna pop it back in.
It's a strong card.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of fun synergy with this deck. For me, this color combination, I will be completely honest, I don't get it. We have a friend that plays this color combination, and I'm always just like, what is he doing? And then all of a sudden he'll win, and I'm like, oh, well, where'd that come from? Which I mean, it is in itself like pretty strong.
It's not meta is kind of what goes on here. Like
Yeah.
if you have those colors, you usually have like red or white or something else to it, and or yeah.
I personally just like him because he's a frog, and he kinda sits in his throne, and he looks like a oh, man, I'm gonna have people yelling at the screen. The other Sultai commander that's, like, chillin' that has Delve.
Um,
I always forget his name.
oh, I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the
Tassiger, right?
might maybe
Yeah, no, maybe not, I don't know. Tasker sounds right.
Tassiger of the Golden something
Yeah,
or another.
Golden Fang.
Yeah,
I mean, they're both, like, kinda kings just, like, sitting in their throne. So I think that, headcanon, Glarb is just a, plane shifted version of him.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's just he's better because he's a frog.
yeah. Clearly, frogs are great. But yeah, I mean, if you wanna play a deck that you can cast a lot of free stuff off the top of your library, you have a little teeny tiny frog commander that you can get out pretty quickly, and then you're in colors that, has a lot to say about what's going on at the table, or you just like those instant win conditions or big flashy combos where you just ether flex laser the entire, opponent's like
Well, I mean, what the one of the cool things too about Glarb is your mystical tutor,
yeah, your
your Vant
Imperial Seal,
tutor,
yeah.
all of that stuff is straight to hand, quote unquote.
Yeah. Second
You
second hand.
you can
Yeah.
get it,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
you
is
don't
cool.
have to figure out how to draw it. Like you're not Imperial Sealing and then trying to swing with Timna and just like praying that the table doesn't stop you.
Or you could do it at instant speed depending on what you need.
Mhm.
I like it. I think it's got a lot of uses. I think once you start doing things, your opponents are going to be like, I don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
which is always good.
I mean, you could have Glarb down and then pass with one blue up and then just go, okay, whatever happens, I can mystical tutor for whatever I need to do. Like, do I need to kill something? Cool. Do I need to mind break trap something? Cool. Like, yeah, do I need to force of will something? Cool.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of stuff you could do, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to calculate what you're doing right offhand,
Mhm.
which is good because a lot of things are telescoped in CEDH, and this here is kind of. I mean, how are you gonna calculate a mystical tutor to,
Yeah.
whatever it could be?
I mean, usually too, like the in CDH, whenever I'm kind of running out, like running low on lands, and I'm just like, oh, I really hope that there's like a land here. Like with Glarb, you could play Glarb and the mid, like not have your land drop per turn, play Glarb and be like, oh, yeah, there's a land on top. Thanks. Like,
Yeah,
and then if you play a sack land too, you play the land on top. You get to look at that card. If you want to cast it, you're like, I'll leave it there. And if not, you can
flip it
shuffle.
through. Yeah,
Yeah. That's cool. That actually sounds really fun. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm selling myself on it.
I think that the usefulness is in the top card manipulation,
Mhm.
and the colors give an aura of mystery that you're not gonna know what's going on exactly, and it could be something as simple as a Thassa out.
Yeah. And to me, those colors, I'm always just like, what are they doing? Like, they're just sitting over there fiddling. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, Thassa, I've got 3 counter spells in hand. Good luck. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what he was doing this entire time.
So hear me out here. Is Valley Flood Caller is a 4, right? With Flash?
I think Valley Flood Collar is a 3.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Valley Flood Collar
Oh,
is
it's a
3,
3.
but it
Okay.
does untap frogs.
Okay.
So you could surveil to
Untap it.
untap cast a spell, surveil.
I was thinking more of um like Worldly Tutor it to the top, cast it, and then next turn Seedborn, untap everything.
They're playing Worldly Tutor, but probably to get Seedborn or Notion Thief. I mean, Notion Thief is really good on top because it has flash. So you're
Yeah.
just like, those are my draws.
Yeah, now I'm drawing. Yeah.
Like if somebody wheels, you're just like, and I'll Notion Thief, like from the top of my deck. Or you could play Urtai, if you have the mana. Which I mean, if you're holding up 5 mana, there's a lot of things you can do. One of those is probably cast a Hull Breaker in those colors with Dark Ritual.
Hmm.
I don't. Oh yeah, they do run Op Agent.
Op Agent's a 3, right?
Yeah. Oh, they're actually running the new loot too.
That's cool.
Loot Exuberant Explorer. I don't think we went over him on our review. He's a 2 generic green. He may play an additional land on each of your turns. 6, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them. Put on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So I think this is literally just here for the extra land.
Hmm.
Because Azusa is here too.
I like
Yeah.
Azusa.
I mean, that looks like a fun deck. I'm sold. If I liked those colors, I would probably proxy that one out and start playing.
Just to see what it's like. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that'll be in my mind for a little bit
yeah.
on what I want to do.
I mean, our pod mate that always plays those colors, I might try to sell him because I know he's
Push
been
it to
kind of
'em.
looking at one, like looking at another deck instead of pirate Harriet Thrasios. I always forget. Like,
Yeah. Francisco.
yeah, Francisco Thrasios. Sithis, Harvest Hand, legendary creature nymph, green, white. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may gain 1 life and draw a card. It's a 1/2. So this one has been doing pretty good lately.
I am. I'm gonna be a little bit of a hater. I'm not a fan of this deck. I get it. I understand that it's strong. I just don't like it. And the reason I don't is because it's like solitaire at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it takes a bit to win, and then once it starts and nobody can stop it, it's like, well, I'm gonna draw a card, do this, draw a card, do that, and it's not definitive. So you have to kind of go through the plays, at least in my opinion.
My so I think this is interesting. I really like the style. I've been a little, I wouldn't really say upset. I'd say like a little disheartened with CDH as of late because I was playing Timno Kodama, and that's a really strong deck, but it's a deck that like people know when it's gonna pop off, and it pops out off pretty late. So when you get to like minute 50, pretty much everybody's just looking at like a board full of stompy things that can win, and then they're like, oh, well, if we get to his turn, we're dead. How much time can we take? Okay, there's 30 minutes left on the clock. If I can take 10 minutes and you can take 10 minutes and the next person can take 10 minutes, we'll just tie, like
Yeah,
that's
there's
better
no
than
win.
losing.
Yeah,
Like any deck and really like I think stacks in general, which is kind of the strength of white green. Whenever you stop people from playing, they don't go, oh, okay, I'm going to try to like lift myself out of this. Like if you lock the board down to the point where there's no hope, pretty much everybody's just like, well, I can't win anymore. And if I can't win, I don't want them to win. So how can we do as much as possible? Which I mean is not a wrong thing for them to do.
but
But what I have the problem with is, oh, okay, I can't play my way out of this, but what I can do is
draw it.
sit here and just go, and then look at a card and go, and like waste 10 minutes, which to me is really frustrating because like then you have to be that guy at the table that's just like, hey, I need you to start making game actions. Like, come on, let's get to my turn.
And again, I get that the deck is strong. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, what is the win line here? I can't remember exactly. I know it's just filtering through cards. Is it Heliod,
Heliod Walking
Ballista?
Ballista.
Yeah,
I mean
it's pretty close.
that's really your only win per
Or
se.
or you go into like
Or you just
crazy amounts of mana and just finale.
Yeah, or you just beat people to death. But I mean, like you're if you're looking at a board, you can kind of tell. Oh, okay, this is going to become. They have 2 creatures and can clearly start making infinite mana.
Yeah,
Like I don't even see it running Devoted Druid, which is kind of surprising. But it's running like 7 cost Elish Norn that buffs. It looks like this one is really trying to win through combat, and it has like tons and tons of enchantments, which, almost all of them are stacks.
It also should be running the land too. I don't know what the land exactly's name is, but
Uh,
you get Gaia's Cradle, and then you get the one,
Sarah's
the
Sanctum.
Sarah
Yeah.
Sanctum, that is also, kind of Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah, you get 2, giant taps for a lot of mana, and Sarah's Sanctum is, legendary land, tap, add white to your mana pool for each enchantment you control, which
This is
this
what you
runs
use.
28 enchantments. I'm surprised they're running Grafdigger's Cage.
They don't care about putting anything out. It's definitely a defense thing.
Well, I mean, green, a lot of what you're doing is, like, pulling out stuff with,
N-
Finale
Not
or
not creatures though. Not this deck. This deck doesn't care about the creatures.
Finale has to be a creature. Like this is a if they have Elish Norn, this is a somewhat beat down
Yeah, but
list.
finale can also give you, doesn't it give you the stuff even if you search your library for a creature with converted mana cost X or less, blah blah blah. They use it for the XX.
Yeah, but I mean,
And you can fail to find creature.
yeah. I mean, you're still you're green though, so
I
you're wanting
get
to
you.
pull stuff out. Like you can pull out creature enchantment creatures, but
This
they're
also
running like Angel's Grace and Everybody Lives. Like this deck is a like I'm gonna tie deck. Like
Cloudstone, yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting, but I do feel like you build this deck to be solitaire at the table. That's what you're doing eventually. And you pray that nobody can do anything else, and then you win on your next turn initially.
Yeah, I mean, I really I feel, and this is like what I've had a problem with at tournaments is like I feel like this deck would lock down the board so much. This deck doesn't just win out of nowhere. Like
No, no, of
you
course
yeah,
not.
and like you have Silence, Angel's Grace, and Everybody Lives. Like I feel like the idea of this deck is I lock things down so much that eventually I can make infinite mana and then combat damage out. And that's how I win.
And
But
then
any deck that's combat damage out is pretty much a like everybody can look at you and just be like, all right, I'll just save a silence for that turn, or like, oh, I don't even have a silence in my hand. They have to win late game, and if I sit here and I take 10-minute turns every time it's my turn, they won't get to late game. You know?
if this is Sithis, the Sithis deck I was playing, um, went to it started up the combo of I'm gonna play an enchantment, I'm gonna draw a card, blah blah blah, and just constantly was going through their deck like 10 cards each. And I got to draw, and I was like, okay, I got this. And they worldly tutored a ballista to top, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna force of will the ballista. And they're like, I haven't cast it. I was just showing. I was like, oh, well, never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, now I can't win. I was like, well,
Yeah. I mean,
good.
I feel like the deck really tries to lock people down so that you can win in your one way, which is probably Ballista Heliod, or as a backup, you're just like, I'm gonna beat them to death. But like, I don't find personally that backup works anymore because if you go to a tournament and people know how to game the system, they'll just be like, oh, I'm locked down. Pretty much all I can do is stop this person from winning. I'll either try to do that and just kind of because it's not hard. It's hard to win. It's not hard to tie. Like if you move to a mode where you're just like, I'm just gonna mess up their turn over and over and over again, and you have 3 people that are doing that, even if they're making like game actions to do that, um, it's really hard to win. And then when people are just like, well, I can't win, so let me just sit here and really ponder the situation for 10 minutes.
What's cool about this commander is I feel like it was kind of looming in the dark, and
Hmm.
then with the bans, something like this has more of a chance than it did before, because the enchantments and things of that nature no longer have to worry about um,
Yeah, they don't have to worry about
dockside,
dockside anymore.
which would instantly win on this deck.
Yeah. And like also like I have definitely gone against this deck, and it was somebody that, like, they got out of CEDH, and then someone was like, "Oh, hey, they banned Dockside," and they're like, "Maybe I'll try it out again with no tweaks," and then they show up to a tournament, and they're like, "Oh," like,
Yeah,
"I can't
yeah.
win like this." So, like, I've definitely I've seen this deck be really good, and I've seen this deck just do nothing other than stop everybody from playing and then just hope that they could battle win. And we were this was like a local tournament, but we were recently in a top 4 with this deck and we didn't leave the game store till 2 a.m. because there was no time limit.
No time
So
limit on the last game, yeah.
yeah, and it was like, let me pull all of this crazy stuff out to field. I'm not at all, trying to win. I'm just trying to make the game go longer. Which I mean, like at the end of the day, like the longer the game goes on, the higher their chances to win. Sometimes when you're going up against a Sisei, that's pretty hard to. But yeah, it's I don't know
I
this.
I will say that was one of the few times that we've been in a top 4 together,
Yeah,
and I ended up killing the other 2 players and had to leave the Sithis, for at least 2 to 3 turns,
yeah,
but I had win because I was gonna counter anything they did, so but anyway, it's an interesting deck. I don't think it takes a certain person to play it, and it's a lot of setup, build, and solitaire, in my opinion. And again, I think it's okay. I just
yeah,
don't think that it's fast enough.
yeah. I like definitely recency bias, like us being at a game store till 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm venting a little bit from that experience, but in my opinion, decks that go, I can win the long game will not win anymore. Just because in 80 minutes, that means each player has 20 minutes to win if you're taking a fair amount of time. And if people see that the board is locked down, you have to figure out how to win in maybe 15 minutes, with this deck. So I think it's fun if that's your play style and you're like, yeah, I get that people can just sandbag and steal a win from me. Like, I don't really care. I like playing the deck. I'm not there to win every single tournament. I'm there to have fun. Like,
this is it. I get it.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If you do see this and you're like, that looks like a fun play style, I would like to play it. I would just kind of warn you that once you have a deck like this, you have to be the butthead at the table. That every time somebody takes too long, you gotta make sure the game is constantly moving along. So like if somebody's looking at their hand and they're like, I just don't really know what to do. Like you have to be like, hey, can you make a game action? Blah 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 blah. And the worst part about that to me is we've been in tournaments where like people would sandbag and called over a judge, and the judge is just like, well, do they feel like they're playing slow? They said no. So, I mean, maybe it just takes them that long. Like, slow play is one of those gray areas where it's just like a judge is not really going to get involved because other than just sitting there and watching that person play over and over again, and like, Magic takes a lot of thinking sometimes where there's definitely times where I'm like counting my mana and I'm like, sorry guys, I know I've counted my mana like a couple times, but I need to take 10 actions. And for me to start the action, I need to make sure that
You know,
every single step will work out because if it doesn't work out, then I've just completely screwed myself. Yeah.
yeah. I and on another side to the coin, I've seen somebody call a judge over and be like, "Hey, I'm about to start this combo. I'm just double checking my mana. Um, this is the last turn of the game. I just want to be 100%." The judge was like, "I'll stand here for a second."
Yeah. And
And
and I've seen the opposite where someone passed with 2 minutes on the clock and they started just being like, "Judge, judge, judge," and like trying to get them over to be like, I win on my next turn and there's 2 minutes left on the
oh no,
timer. And it's like the judge was just like, "Well, then you're probably not gonna get a turn." He's like, "No, you need to watch them. They're gonna take too long." It's like, I remember I got called that guy called a judge on me because I was like, "Hey, can I see everybody's graveyards?" And I'm playing Corvold, so I have black. And he's just like, "Judge, he's wasting time asking to see people's graveyards." I'm like, "I'm not gonna tell you why. Like, I'm looking at graveyards."
yeah,
And like I was like, "I'll show the judge." Like, I do have an action I can take with graveyards, you know?
Mm,
But I was like, I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, guys, I'm considering casting a reanimate. May I see everybody's graveyards before I do so?" Like,
yeah, no.
Yeah, it's just
It
interesting, politic mechanics there. Like
it's cool that Sithis has came out of the dark a little bit and seeing a little bit of spotlight. Again, not necessarily my playstyle. I get where it comes from though.
I kinda like that play style because I like kind of winning through attrition. Like, I think that's a fun way to, like, slowly build out your board and then be like, "Because I've made these 100 good decisions, I ended up winning," rather than like, "Well, I just tried this combo and it just so happened to work," you know?
Hmm.
But yeah, I just in CDH lately, I think it's been kind of hard to, unless you have a surprise win in hand that you just kind of flop it out and it happens. I think it's kind of hard to win with one of these attrition decks.
Yeah, that's hard to do in Bant though. Or
Yeah,
not, that's not Bant. Selesnya?
yeah, two color, yeah,
Yeah, that's hard.
yeah. But this particular commander did win a top 16 recently, so like
It's coming, man.
kudos to them. Yeah. All right. Next one is Master of Keys. We went over this one on our Duskmorn review, but as a refresher, Master of Keys X white, blue, black, legendary enchantment creature horror. Flying. When Master of Keys enters, put X 1/1 counters on it and mill twice X cards. Each enchantment card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So it's an underworld breach, sans red in the command zone, somewhat. You know, uh, the person that ended up getting top 16 with this, they named their deck Sora's Cursed Keyblade, and
Hmm.
I dig it. Like,
I don't I don't necessarily understand this one as much.
uh, so this one is kind of just its value in the command zone, but you have a couple of good combos that benefit from uh bringing things to the graveyard. Like, of course, you have oh, they're not even running Savine's Reclamation, which I'm surprised of.
I know it has Thassaline. It has to.
Well, it's Bomberman.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, definitely they have Thassaline as a backup, but a lot of the deck is Teferi Time Traveler, Displacer Kitten combos,
Mm,
and then Bomberman. So Uriak Savagers plus Lion's Eye plus oh, what's the a Mana Outlet, which is Master of Keys. I was just like,
uh-huh.
where's the spell bomb that they use? Oh, it's not. You don't have a spell bomb in these colors. But
I
Uriok Savagers and Lion's Eye Diamond gives you infinite colored mana.
okay.
So with infinite colored mana,
You can just mill your
Master of
deck and then
Keys,
use it.
mill your deck, yeah. But you're constantly casting over and over and over again Lion's Eye Diamond, so you can eat a lot of interaction that way.
Mm, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, it runs like a lot of fun stuff. Like
Out of
it
tune.
runs 17 enchantments. You can animate dead a creature in your graveyard with an animate dead that is in your graveyard.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then you can dress down from your graveyard over and over and over again.
Draw out. Yeah.
uh like you could, if you had dress down and 9 cards in your graveyard and you had Master of Keys out, you could just go dress down on your turn, sack it, draw a card, dress down. Like, so it's like every person's turn, you're just like,
You're not getting nothing.
nobody has any creatures that do anything now. Like,
That's awesome.
because by the time Master of Keys gives you the ability to cast it, and by the time it's out, you're just like, I don't really care if Master of Keys is a blank creature. Like, this is what I was doing. But I mean, it has like Out of Tombs from Warhammer 40K,
That's awesome.
Ripples of Unearth. I mean, it also runs Leyline, which you may cast Leyline of Anticipation. You may cast spells as though they had flash. I mean, Smothering Tithe. Like, to me, this looks like a fun way to kind of lock the game down, and you have access to like Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora. Like, for a blue, you just never pay the Mystic Remora whenever it goes to 2, and then you just recast it again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Tiny Bones joins up. Um, Whenever Tiny Bones joins up, enters the battlefield, any number of target players each discard a card. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, any number of target players each mill a card and lose 1 life.
It uses intuition.
Um,
It does that. I've seen it. It runs the intuition line. It's probably
well, it doesn't because it doesn't have Savines.
oh,
Which that's why I was like, I'm surprised to not see Savines.
hmm.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would. I mean, it runs Retraction Helix, Valley Flood Collar,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a make your own Hullbreaker horror because you cast one of your 0 rocks, which they have Lion's Eye, Lotus Petal, Mox Amber, Mox Diamond,
Mox Opal, yeah.
Mox Opal.
Chromes.
Chrome, you could just decide not to imprint it, but then you don't go like mana positive.
Yeah.
And then just get infinite mana that way, and then Master of Keys.
That's interesting.
Oh, I guess Master of Keys. So, like, let's say you mill your entire library, you can then animate dead your Thassa's Oracle
And when
and then win. If they're both in the graveyard, you don't even have to have Thassa's in hand at that point, which is cool. Yeah.
that's interesting. Infinite mana all the way down.
I guess that's why
Playing
they
that.
probably aren't doing Savines then, because they're just like, I'll just animate dead my own Thassa's Oracle. Like,
Or is Dance of the Dead an enchantment as well or no?
yeah.
Yeah, so they could use either or.
And Necromancy.
I like it. I think
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I mean, it's running Steel Enchantment,
Such a good card.
the Meat Hook Massacre. I'm sure there's like some things that were missing. Like, it does look like there's some type of combo with Meat Hook Massacre and Out of the Tombs where you just keep killing a creature over and over again.
Hmm.
Oh, that's funny. So if you would draw a card, I just read Out of the Tombs. So Out of the Tombs is a 2 generic black enchantment from Warhammer 40k. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Eon counters on Out of the Tombs, then mill cards equal to the number of Eon counters. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Thassa.
Yeah,
You just really go ahead and win that way.
that's funny.
That is
If you
cool.
can't, you lose the game. That's funny. Yeah, I think this is fun. I think both of us kind of have our eyes on a different Esper commander that we'll talk about a little bit later. But I mean, I think that this is a really
I mean,
interesting. Like, when we did our review, we were looking at this and we are like, this has potential. I don't really know what. And I
looks
think,
like they found it.
yeah, I think that Out of the Tombs is really funny.
I think in general, just the infinite mana into animate dead to Thassa is such a crazy win.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then yeah, if yeah, that's cool. I like it. I mean, they also have like Abdel Adrian, which like there's a combo there, and it's very convoluted. But
Yeah.
I like Bomberman combo. I think it's really fun. Ariok Salvagers and Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, I like that one. If you're playing a tournament, definitely keep an eye out for this guy because it looks like for the most part it could just play Sheriff at the table, then all of a sudden be like, all right, I went infinite mana. Time to win. Like, oh, you stopped my animate dead? Okay, cool. I'm gonna try it again. You know? It's like every time it gets countered, it's just like, oh no, it goes to the graveyard. I'll just try it again. Like,
Mm. Yeah, I think that it's an interesting commander. I like that it's an up and coming Esper
yeah,
because usually those are kind of locked in to certain ones.
yeah. This is also a color combination we don't see in CDH very often, and it did win a tournament recently. Jolly Balloon Man. One generic, red, white. legendary creature, human clown, haste. Pay 1 mana and tap. Create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature in addition to its other colors and types. It has flying and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a 1/4.
I really like Balloon Man. I don't really think that he's good standalone, but I could be wrong.
Um, so I did kind of look at this one because this was one where I was like, I don't I don't get why he'd be good standalone. Like having a Kiki Jiki, a 2-color Kiki Jiki in the command zone doesn't sound terrible, especially when he only costs 3. Um, so the main theme, strategy, and win conditions. The deck focuses on combo-based strategies, utilizing the Jolly Blue Man's ability to create token copies for various infinite combos. The primary win conditions involve generating infinite mana, drawing the deck, or creating infinite combat steps. The deck is a high-powered combo deck that aims to win through efficient, explosive plays. It utilizes Jolly Bloom's mana ability to create copy token of creatures, enabling various infinite combos. The deck includes multiple tutors to find key pieces and fast mana to accelerate game plan. It can win through infinite mana generation, drawing the entire deck, i.e., Skull Camp plus it as a token generator, or taking infinite combat steps, Magistrate's Scepter. The deck also includes strong control elements and protection spells to ensure its combos can resolve. So I did not know what Magistrate's Scepter did. It's a kind of old core set card. Costs 3. It's an artifact. For 4, you can tap it, put a charge counter on it. Uh, and then for just tap and remove 3 charge counters, you can take an extra turn. There is a mirror called Core Tapper that for 2, you can put a charge counter on target artifact by tapping it, and then you can sacrifice it to put 2 charge counters on target artifact. So with Jolly Balloon Man, you pay 1, tap it to make a copy of Core Tapper. With that haste copy, you tap it, put a charge counter on Magistrate's Scepter, sack it, put 2 more on Magistrate's Scepter, take another turn.
Yeah, take infinite turns.
Yeah. So the moment that you have Core Tapper, Jolly Balloon Man, and Magistrate's Scepter, you can take infinite turns.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Like, I mean, of course, people can, just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna swords your Core Tapper then to like get rid of it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's white, so there's a lot of protection, like hexproof protection. It runs a ton of artifacts 20, and then the other thing is every single creature that you bring out with Balloon Man, you can just Skull Clamp. And then there's Umbral Mantle and Untap shenanigans that you can play. Plus, I mean, it's red white, so it has access to a lot of really good one-sided stacks if you need.
Does it run? Yeah, it runs Breach. That's interesting.
Yeah. It also runs this card Mana Echoes. Whenever a creature comes into play, add 1 generic to your mana pool for each creature you control that shares a creature type with it. So Mana Echoes basically makes his tap free
Hmm.
because you pay 1, tap it, get something. If it's the only creature type on the battlefield,
You get a mana.
you just get a mana. If it's a human, you can start going infinite mana if you have a way to untap them.
Hmm.
Which there's a lot of like, professional facebreaker, ranger captain, recruiter of the guard, Sarah's ascendant, like, because Jolly Balloon Man is a human. I mean, you could, sticker goblin your way to infinite mana if you had a Umbral Mantle, and it has a lot of fun, kind of silly combos that I just like Jolly Balloon Man because he's actually a clown type, like
Clown.
human clown.
Just blowing up faces.
Yeah, I mean the art is great, like in both the
Yeah,
double negative. Well, like, this was. Did we cover this one?
I'm
I
sure
think
we
we
did.
did. Yeah, I know that there was one that we missed on our review that I was just like, oh man, how do we miss that? But I don't think we missed Jolly Balloon Man. But I mean, if you like these like silly tap and tap, make a token, do all of this crazy stuff. I mean, you also have access to Feldalar Guardian combos and all kinds of fun stuff. Skyclave Apparition, Stone Mystic, uh, Zero to Dawnwalker, plus like all of your red, make a bunch of mana, Angel's Grace, Enlightened Tutor, Final Fortune, which Final Fortune is like really strong. We just did a tournament with it recently, and from what the judge was telling us is as long as you Final Fortune on the turn that ran out the clock, you get to take your turn. So like if you pass to somebody and there's 30 seconds and that person just goes, "Okay, I have the turn." And they take a 5-minute turn, even though the clock is 4 minutes over, as long as you Final Fortuned in that last turn, you still get your turn,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I don't know. I know that he said that they're kind of like discussing it because it throws some of the tournaments off, and it was a 3-round tournament that we went to, and I saw it. I played 2 rounds and I saw it once. So,
Yeah, I've
yeah.
seen it at least once.
Yeah, we played 2 rounds together. We got a bye together, and then our final round was together. But yeah, Jolly Balloon Man, keep an eye out for him. Looks like a lot of fun. Just looks like you pretty much get a piece or 2 out that you can even tutor for, and then once you get that tutor, you just drop the Jolly Balloon Man, and you're just like, "All right, well, I got 4 mana. GG's." Like, take infinite turns.
Yeah, he's it's a good card, not only as commander, but in the 99 as well. So
Yeah,
just
and if you play it and you show up in a clown suit,
you
props
instant win.
props to you. Yeah, yeah, you get the first buy. You just get a free win. All right. Um, so this is Captain Sisay, but it's not the one that we're used to seeing. This is actually Captain Sisay, not the Weatherlight Captain.
Mm,
Uh, 2 generic, green, white, creature legend. She has tap, search your library for a legend or legendary card. Reveal that card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. She's a 2/2. This one recently got a top 16. The description is a CEDH deck that utilizes the powerful and consistent tutor ability from Captain Sisay to lock out opponents and assemble combos. So it is another um, Selesnya deck. The name is Paradox Engine is for boomers, aka not that sissy. I play 2 color because I love her and I hate myself. So it's another Selesnya kind of combo machine. It has a Shia Soul of the Wild, which is tutorable from the command zone.
yeah.
Really, the only thing that I'm seeing that kind of takes this deck out of the running for me. Number one, it's a gold commander. So like back whenever they had 2 color commanders and they had that old school gold border, like
Yeah.
really cool. It has that classic art. Like just seeing it in the command zone makes me happy. But you have to tap her, so you basically play her and then pass, and then just really hope that you can tap her. Which I've kind of I don't really like decks that do that. I've made a deck that's kind of like that right now, and it's always that like, all right, I played my commander, pass. But at least that deck has blue. This doesn't. This is green white.
It also is a 2/2.
Yeah, 2/2 for 4. But I mean, they're running Karn. They're doing all those turn all of your creatures into land shenanigans. They have Eldrami. They have both Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, and Mother of Machines. To me, I mean, really, this is the problem of Selesnya in general is just, yeah, I mean, if the game goes really long, Selesnya probably will win. And you can lock the game down pretty well with Selesnya to where the game will get to late game. It's just, you know, in 80 minutes with your opponent sandbagging, will you get to late game is more the question.
Mm.
I mean, it runs Gandalf the White, which is really cool. And then Magus of the Candelabra X tap untap X lands, where if all of your creatures are lands, then you can just untap him and do it again.
Mm.
uh, I mean, it looks fun. It looks like a fun deck that you could play at your pod and it would be kind of a contender, but
I worry about the speed of these decks
yeah.
because when you have things that go in the running like Rogsai and stuff like that, it's
Yeah.
harder to justify mid to late game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even if you successfully stop everybody early, then everybody that tries to win early is just like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm definitely getting 0 points if I don't slog the game, so let me slog the game, maybe I'll get a point." I do see Urza's Ruinous Blast in this, though, which is really cool. So Urza's Ruinous Blast is a legendary sorcery, so you can go tutor it with Sisay. You may cast a legendary sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. Exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary, which hot
That's
for
crazy.
5. I mean, it's pretty brave to cast this in a deck where you don't have counters to back it up, though. Personally, but like that's the problem I have with culling ritual is like
Well,
for 4 it's great, but everybody's just like, oh, he's gonna kill all of my stuff and get mana. Like we all have to counter this. Who has a counter?
don't you have like Veil of Summer and some of the other things?
Yeah, I mean, but you're not really saving a Veil of Summer for Urza's Ruinous Blast. Your Veil of Summer is there for your win.
Hmm. Yeah, I got you.
Like there has been times where I'm like, ooh, I really need this to go through. I will just Veil of Summer. I would not want to burn it here, but if this doesn't go through, then I lose anyway. But I mean, it's the one card in your deck that
Stops. Yeah,
stops counters.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I love Urza's Ruinous Blast. It's a pretty fun card. It's a 5 cost sorcery, but you can get that to go through. It's a lot of fun. All right. Did you have anything else to add about Captain Sisay?
I, I like Sisay in general. I do think that this one doesn't have the consistency of the 5 color, which is a little bit harder to
Hmm.
justify. And then in Selesnya, it's just harder to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I could be wrong with something like this, but I just don't think it's fast enough.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I will say that I have seen people that run this particular commander like at game nights and they love it. Like
Mm.
they have loved it since it came out in 2000. So they've had the deck together for 20 years, you know. Uh
It's a cool commander.
yeah, so I mean it's really cool to see like potentially you could sit down at a table with somebody at top 16 and they'd be like, I have played this commander for 20 years. Good luck. You know,
Yeah,
like
I know what I'm doing.
that'd be that'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
All right. On to the next one. So this one is a dual side card. I'll go over both of them, but I'll leave it on the one that matters the most in CDH. So this is Eskai, God of the Tree. One generic green legendary creature god. Vigilance, tap, add 1 mana of any color. Other legendary creatures you control have vigilance, and tap, add 1 mana of any color. The other side, which isn't really used as much, like if the board's super locked down, maybe somebody will get desperate enough and cast it, but it's the Prismatic Bridge. It's Wooburg. So this is a 5 color commander. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library. Until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card, put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this one is just literally value. It's 5 color, no bad cards, good stuff. Where basically you have isekai, I guess, eskai,
Asika the God Tree.
asika. Yeah, there's like several ways you.
I could be wrong, but
uh,
I like it.
yeah, but it basically turns every legendary creature that you have um into a birds of paradise. So like your Lotho now gives you a treasure and is a mana. Your Ragavan gives you a treasure and is a mana.
It's an oldie but goodie. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like this deck is old and has been used prior.
I've seen some pretty crazy takes on it. I did see somebody that was running all of the dual faced land cards, so there was not a single card that couldn't be cast in the deck. Yeah,
Mm.
like uh But this is just like looking at the list, it's like Eldrami's Call, Final Fortune, Flusterstorm. Like you're just running
All good things.
Silence. Like it's just 5 color good stuff, and you probably don't even need the commander out. But once you have the commander out, it turns a bunch of your really good creatures into birds of paradises. Like Lotho as a birds of paradise is kind of silly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to. I took a Sika out of Sisse for enduring vitality,
Yeah.
just because the vitality gives everything that.
I recently learned something about enduring vitality that I had not learned before. So enduring, and this is like a side rant, but enduring vitality is a creature, and then when it dies, if there's a Grafdigger's Cage out, it can't come back to the battlefield
Oh, because it's still a creature.
because when it tries to enter the stack, it's a creature, and then once that trigger resolves, it becomes an enchantment. So if you put a Grafdigger's Cage down, it stops all of those new creatures that when they die they come back as enchantments. Yeah,
Shenanigans. Yeah.
which I mean everybody runs them. So,
Yeah, that's
but
interesting.
I mean like 3 for I mean this one's 3 and in the command zone, but like enduring vitality is great. You know, even like if it dies, you're pretty much like, oh, boo. You know,
Hmm.
like you never play it and go, well, I know this is gonna die, but then it comes back as an enchantment.
I
But
mean,
I just thought that was like food for thought. Like I could definitely see me playing that and then just kind of betting that it would come back, and then there's a Craft Diggers, and I'm like, oh, that makes me sad.
they don't even use too many legendary creatures. This is legit five color good stuff.
Yeah, it's just Ragavan and Lothar from what I saw.
Yeah, and it just yeah.
Yeah, it's no bad cards, 5 color good stuff. Your Underworld Breaching with Savine's Reclamation, like it's if you just are like, I want to play a really good deck that I just don't kind of care about my commander too much. And I never want to draw a card and be like, oh man, this is a combo piece, but it's not good by itself. Like, pretty much this deck is every single thing I draw is always going to be valuable. And because it's 5 color, there is synergy between them that will cause me to win.
I like Asika, in general. I do think that you'll see more of these decks come out too, where it's just good stuff. But I mean, maybe they use the other side more so than you think.
I looked at the primer for this, which is pretty expansive. They call it Bop Farm. It's blue
Mm.
farm with green. So it's a mid-range deck that can pivot to turbo. And pretty much it's we don't really cast our commander very often. When we do, it's always the creature side. And then let's say the game is so locked down that you can't do anything. At the very least, you can cast the enchantment side of her and then just get free stuff on your next upkeep.
Mm.
So like
Okay.
it's not useless, but by the time you're that locked down, you're not really going to go, okay, well, I'm going to play a Wooburg enchantment and pass.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's got Thassa's Oracle, Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye, Brain Freeze. Like it goes for the strongest
Win
win
cons.
cons and then has, ways to back up with tutors and, counters and all that.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah. I just wanted to put this one on the list. Just, if you're just like, I don't really care about synergy. I just have all these good cards and I want to throw them in deck. There you go.
Asika's the way to do it.
Yeah. Next one is Heliod, the Radiant Dawn. So this is another flip card. It's legendary enchantment creature, god. 2 generic white white. When Heliod the Radiant Dawn enters the battlefield, return target enchantment card that isn't a god from your graveyard to your hand. For 4, 3 generic and a blue Phyrexian. Transform Heliod Radiant Dawn, activate only as a sorcery. And then this is the side that we care about. So Heliod the Warped Eclipse. You may cast spells as though they had flash. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card your opponents have drawn this turn. So the name of this deck is Wheelie Odd
Yeah.
because you wheel and then you're like, all right, well, all of my spells cost 21 less. Walking Ballista, where X is 10 on each one.
Mm.
It seems like kind of a fun deck. Wheels are something that the game state will get to the point where someone has tutored so much that a wheel kind of needs to happen, and then you're in blue white and you're just like, oh heck yeah. So for the most part you're running just like tons of card advantage, like Fairy Mastermind, which once you get Fairy Mastermind and oh, what is it, this is kind of like Smothering Tithe. So those two, you cause people to draw. Because you're causing them to draw for 4 mana, all of your stuff costs cheaper.
Yeah.
It runs a lot of kind of weird cards like Paradoxical Outcome for 3 generic, a blue. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hand. Draw a card for each card that was returned to your hand this way. So like once all your stuff is really cheap, you get it all back from the graveyard, and then you also draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, this is an old deck too. It.
it's not too old. So like yeah, it is old, but it came out late last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
so the white one is pretty old, the Theros
That's
one,
what it is.
because that one's just Walking Ballista. This is Azorius,
Okay.
and I believe they even run the. Wait, let's not do this. Oh no. Okay, yeah. Sorry, there's a weird sorting on it. I was just like, what's going on? But it's like it runs Displacer Kitten into Fairy. Um, runs a lot of just strange cards that you don't really see very often. Like there's not too many creatures. Um, and there's a lot of like cards that you wouldn't see in other decks in this deck, like Seagate Restoration, Lorien Revealed, Lunar Insight, a lot of X spells where you just draw a whole bunch. It's a very, like, you can run Commandeer and like actually hard cast Commandeer. Like it's a really interesting deck. Like if you're looking for a deck where you cast stuff and everybody's like, what does that do? Can I see it?
Yeah.
Visions of Skeins. Each player draws 2 cards. It does. I mean, we don't really see Orcish Bowmasters as much anymore.
Not normally.
Yeah, which I mean, it was kind of what stopped the deck because
Does
you
it
know,
run Memory Jar?
no.
Okay.
So it runs
Yeah, it
like
does.
Chromatic Orrery.
It does run Memory Jar.
Oh yeah, it does run a Memory Jar. I was
Oh.
thinking of the red one that just recently came out.
Mm,
It's Memory Jar, but like cheaper.
yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense
Yeah,
because if you cast it and use it on their turn, you win, type of thing.
yeah, yeah. It plays Invasion of Arcavos. When Invasion enters the battlefield, search your library graveyard and or outside the game for an instant or sorcery card you own. Reveal it, put it in your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. So like believe from outside the game counts exile. So if somebody like exiles your spell with Mind Break Trap, you're just like, I'm getting it back.
Yeah.
And then when you defeat the battle, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I'm somebody that I really like whenever I'm playing a deck. I like to look at a deck and go, this commander makes these 10 cards playable that literally no one will know what I'm doing with these cards. Like they'll be like, what is that card? Can I see it? Can you read it? Like what is it?
Mm,
I always like those kind of like bespoke cards in commanders. Just personally, I get a little tired of seeing like, Ranger Captain over and over and over again, or Phyrexian Metamorph over and over again. So I really appreciate whenever I have a deck where like 10 to 20 of my cards are just like, this card could never go in any other deck. Um, and it's in mine, and it's pretty, and, it's pretty much mine,
And it
at this
does
point.
things, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it plays Copy Artifact, like, lots of really fun stuff, and plus, because you're in white blue, you get the best counter package, you get silence, you get intuition,
That would be insane to silence somebody and then wheel.
yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
It's like, all right, everybody, silence, wheel.
I mean, like, we we had this happen. If somebody just isn't paying attention and your commander's out, and then they just decide to Wheel of Fortune, then you just win the game. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah. I like this deck. How I'd recommend it basically is, like I'm saying, if you just want to buy, $10 cards, or like 10 cards that are like a dollar just because they don't go anywhere, and then put them in your CDH deck and then run them in a tournament. Like, even the score, for example, is 99 cents and great in this.
Hmm.
This would be the deck for you. Or if you like wheels, then play Wheeliod. Like,
Yeah, Willie Odd. I like that.
all right, next one. This one is more of a comeback, but it is a near and dear comeback. This was Gaming Ghost's kind of first CDH deck, so for the most part, I will let you take this one over, because it is kind of your deck that you played a little bit more.
So it's Tivit.
Yeah, it's Tivit. My bad. My bad.
Um, Tivit, Seller of Secrets. It is 3 generic mana and then Esper colors, so white, blue, black. Um, it has Flying Ward 3 and then Council's Dilemma. Whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player who votes for evidence or for bribery. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. While voting, you may vote twice or vote an additional time. So Tivit is pretty much Esper control with infinite turns. Um, the biggest downfall to Tivit was um, Dockside.
Yeah,
Dockside was it where I had to be very careful, and Dockside was in every deck.
yeah.
So
You could lose the game for everybody with a dock
yeah,
side.
I,
Yeah,
I
like,
could cast Tivit and then lose the game.
yeah,
That being said, without Dockside to kind of leash Tivit, he kind of roams free.
yeah,
More so than that, he also got some new toys as far as like Mockingbird and uh, you could still use your what is it, cursed totems and your uh, God, what was the other one?
yeah,
Gravediggers, just to stop all of that stuff. Plus, you get cards like Into the Flood Maw, which hold pretty hard too, as far as paying one and then giving somebody a fish to bounce something. But in general, it's a lot of control, and he kind of snowballs. Like you see the ball falling down the mountain, and it just slowly gets huge, and then all of a sudden you're taking infinite turns.
yeah. And the thing I like about it is, like, Smothering Tithe is really good in it. Trouble in Pairs is really good in it. Vexing Bauble just came out. Well, I mean, just came out from Tivit. So there's a lot of good cards that have kind of strengthened Tivit, and for the most part, everybody was like, "Yeah, it's a Cursed Totem deck. Tivit's pretty good, but Dockside's around, so, like, you got to run a whole bunch of white, turn off, enter the battlefield effects. Like, you have to keep those up." Which, I mean, Elvery was kind of the same way, where it was like, since she puts out so many enchantments, you have to keep those flash 2-cost creatures that stop ETBs. you couldn't shut off treasures because that's how you want to. Uh, you couldn't just shut off artifacts. So Tivit was always in a place where it was just like, I have to win despite um Dockside, and now Tivit's just like, I'm in the best colors, like best color combination for control. I'm a 6/6 flying beater that I can just go to infinite turns.
And beat your
Also,
face.
once Tivit comes down, word 3, buddy, good luck. You know,
Yeah, no.
I think that's what really ticks it over for me is there's been so many times where I'm like, "Oh man, Tivit just hit and he just got 2 treasures and 3 clues." Man, that sucks. I have a swords. I'm not gonna pay 4 to swords Tivit. Somebody else can deal with that. You know, like it's like why am I gonna pave the way for somebody else by paying 4 mana to get rid of it? I mean, it also just, you know, if you have infinite mana, you just play Urza and yeah, you know.
Run through Urza, yeah. I mean, and then you have Storm Drake, and if you really wanted to use Gilded, you could use Gilded. There's also
Yeah,
Shieldred.
the fact that Storm Drake came out, kind of Tivit was always kind of an expensive deck, and I mean, it still is with Transmute Artifact, but one of the bigger problems with it now is just like, okay, you can put a dollar card in instead of this $200 card, and it's not as good, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with Tivit is that you can use Transmute Artifact and it kind of hides your win attempt. Like you
Mhm.
have to stop it. Otherwise, I go through it anyway. Or War of Invention, where I hide my win con through it, and then I can start infinite turns the other way.
Yeah.
And War of Inventions is a instant. So if I played it on somebody's end step and then brought Time Sieve to field and then tapped it, I believe I can do that. Which
Yeah. I mean, you have so many good like Esper has such a good control package that a lot of the times you're just like, does Polywog Prodigy make the cut? Does Snuff Out make the cut? Does Supreme Verdict and Uncounterable Destroy All Creatures make the cut? Like, there's a lot of like Talion, the Kindly Lord, probably doesn't make the cut. Like the how good those colors are in CDH. Plus, you have Tivit, who is everything you want in a commander in the command zone, minus costing 6. Yeah, like that is a problem, but um, it's really interesting that just every card in Tivit, for the most part, is just this is great. This is a counter. This is a Archivist of Ogma. This is a win. You know, like this is a Grand Abolisher. I like that's coming back. I like that there's lots of ways to play Tivit. Like you play Dranith and Knowledge Pool in Tivit and it be somewhat competitive. I wouldn't say that it would be the best version of Tivit. But you can play a lot of really fun cards in Tivit. I just think Tivit's kind of cool. Like I was not a huge fan of Dockside getting banned just because like I felt like it was kind of needed. It is cool that Tivit is coming out on top from it. I don't think I think Tivit is a really good commander. I think we're going to see a lot of top 16s with Tivit, and I think it's cool that people that were playing Tivit, I'm pretty sure, you know, if you're one of those people, people would just come up to you and be like, "Yeah, you like Tivit. Why don't you just play Blue Farm? It's a better deck."
now you can.
Yeah, now you can, and you know, you can make the argument
Well,
Tivit is a better for your playstyle deck now.
Red has dropped off so far
Yeah,
that this is Tivit has Time Sieve, which is his own win con, and then you could also do something like Thassa
yeah,
and
or just Shouldered kill the table. You know, like
yeah,
Shouldered Orcish Bowmaster
yeah. I mean, it's solid.
or Hullbreaker Horror. You know, win the game. Like, I like Tivit. It's always I think the only thing, and I think if you've played Tibet, you probably are going to agree with this, is whenever you plop down Tibet, just waking up the next person that has to say if they vote, like what they vote, like because usually it's like, all right, I play Tibet. I'll vote treasures twice. And then the other person's like, "Huh? What are we doing?"
Yeah, yeah.
So wait. How many cards do you have in hand? How much mana do you have open? Okay, well, I'll vote evidence. Wait, is evidence clue? I'll just give you a clue. How about that? And then the next person's kind of like, "Sorry, I got lost. Like what's going on?" So he gave you a clue. So right now there's two treasures and a clue. Hang in. How many cards do you have in hand? Like,
The whole reasoning that I went to Tibet was our local game shop does more than 4 players a table,
says on the website 3 to 5, bub.
which to me was like, because I was at Kennan first, and
Yeah,
Kennan needs, the Kennan, the more people that are at the table, the less chance I have to win. Whereas Tivit, the more players that are at the table, the better chance I have to win.
yeah,
Because if I swing and then I hit, however many, like it's just crazy town. So I don't know. I like Tivit a lot. I think that it will sneak into the top. I don't know if it's fast enough, but the Esper control kind of fixes that. So it depends on how you play him. But I mean, Esper control Tivit coming back, scary.
yeah, for sure. All right. Next commander, Rakdos the Muscle. So just I downloaded these from Scryfall, and this is the order they came in. The last two I have pretty much trashed my old decks, which trash means took them apart, like, and put together these two personally. So Rakdos the Muscle was top 16 at the boil, and it is Rakdos Scam in Commander, which I think is really cool. It's two generic black, black, red, legendary creature, demon mercenary, flying trample. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library. So it does target a player, and it is a player, so it can be yourself. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Sacrifice another creature. Rakdos the Muscle gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Activate only once each turn. So this is fun. The reason that I was interested in it is because I think the evoke creatures are a lot of fun, and I do think that Warren Soul Trader is a really strong card right now, along with Forsaken Miner. And I just looked out and I saw a lot of synergy, and also there's a card called Awful Snout, which is a pig that looks like a caterpillar. So it won me over. But the fact that you can take the mana generation from black and red and then make a commander out of it, and then all of your evoke stuff like Fury, Ingot Chewer, Shriek Maw, um, all of those big creatures that you can kind of cheat out for free, you can just sacrifice them or burnt offering them, get their immediate value, and then with the sack trigger on the stack, exile the top, 8 cards of yours, and then all the mana that you just got, you can spend it as any color to play your spells. Or let's say like you've been kind of shut down and you're just kind of hoping to Thassa out. You can look at somebody's deck and be like, I'm just gonna exile the top 8. Oh great, I hit Thassa combo. Red, red, black, play Thassa and Demont Consultation and win. I think it's a lot of fun. I like that you can dig through your deck with this commander. I would probably be playing it if it was only dig through my own deck. The fact that I can dig through other people's decks, if I'm just like, no, their cards are probably better. Their cards are probably going to have more win cons in them than mine. And then also like if you get to the point with Forsaken Miner and Warren Soul Trader, it's realistic that you could just keep sacrificing the same thing over and over and over, and you're just like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna get to the point where I have a bunch of mana and I've exiled all of you guys' decks, and they're all my cards, so I pass. Die, die, die."
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the other thing, it's a 6/5 flying trample commander, so, beat down would be a very slow way to go here, but it's possible. Like
Yeah, or at least pressure.
yeah, and you're running red, so you have Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast. You have all of your silly reanimation package with Entomb, Reanimate. You have Saw in Half, Flare of Duplication, which Flare of Duplication, if you sacrifice, let's say your dual caster mage combo doesn't work right. You Flare of Duplication somebody's ad nause. Well, now you get to go 3 deep with your dual caster mage for free because you flare duplication. uh, Also, too, I just like the fact that you're kind of You have the ability to mess with your opponent's deck. So anybody that tutors to top, they're just like, well, I don't really know if I want to do that because there's all kinds of evoke things where like yeah, I can tutor to top, but then Rakdos once per turn can sacrifice another creature. So if you try to tutor to top and you're just not paying attention, with Rakdos, I can be like, oh, well, I have Ragavan out. So you just tutor to top. Put that draw trigger on the stack from Timna. I'm going to sack Ragavan. Get that top card. It's mine until my end step.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, kind of like same feel as Obnix, which seems to be Obnix, but a lot more consistent.
yeah, I mean, Jessica's will is a lot better in this. You can actually run Yawgmoth's will. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Um, it is very much. I mean, at least how I'm playing it right now. I might be playing it wrong. To me, it's a go all in real quick deck, but I do believe that you could play it pretty conservatively and just go like, okay, like this is definitely not a table where I can just quick win. Like, let me kind of play the control game as much as possible with red black, and like when I see my window then I'll assemble Forsaken Miner, whatever combo Poxwalkers, and then once I've assembled it then I'll go for it. And like if they stop me, cool. There's several areas where I can kind of work around even if I am stopped. I feel like the deck is a little bit more resilient than people give it credit for in just black red. So,
Which is scary.
yeah,
That's scary to have in Rakdos
yeah.
colors.
Which I mean, like a lot of what I've seen is if somebody stops my sacrifice or my burnt offering, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like
Well, I'll wait.
no, that's fine. Like I guess I just got to go the Poxwalkers route. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's one of those decks that's pretty scary. You do kind of have to have Rakdos the muscle out to do anything. So like there is a tell. Like you can't just Thassa out with your commander in the command zone, but the deck makes so much mana that I don't really have a hard time getting Rakdos the muscle out. I was kind of looking for a deck that was very similar to Atali. So I took Atali and Crick apart, and Atali and Crick had a baby, and that baby was Rakdos the muscle.
It's ugly,
Yeah.
but it works.
Alright, you have any? Oh, and I just side note, I like that I can run Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar in a CDH deck. Like,
Um, I've played this deck a few times from you, and it seems like feast or famine sometimes.
yeah,
The only issue is with this is that you're always lurking in the back.
yeah,
So like even though it's feast or famine initially, you're like, well, I'm gonna do it
yeah, and
again.
I do like with Yawgmoth's Will, I can just be like, cool, I tried a bunch and you guys stopped me. It's all in my graveyard. Yawgmoth's Will, let's go again. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's a scary deck.
yeah,
I think that it's more scary to me than Omnixus, because Omnixus is kind of like very telescoped. This is seemingly pops out and then just does what it does.
yeah. And I like that it has dual caster mage combo with like multi duplication and stuff like that. The thing I like about it though is if I have a molten duplication in my hand and Rakdos is out, it's not a dead card. I can molten duplication Rakdos, get out Rakdos, state bakes action, sacrifice Rakdos, and then I can go 5 cards deep. So basically, molten duplication just by itself becomes okay. Pay 2, exile the top 5 cards from my library or my opponent's library if I'm feeling cheeky. So uh, cool. I don't really have much else to say about this. I've only been playing it for 2 days. I do think I'll stick with it. I do like 2 color commanders. I think that's kind of where my comfort zone is. I just like that it's like this is what they do. All of the cards kind of work towards that. It's simple. It does this. The end. Yeah.
I do like using all of the black cool special cards.
Yeah. Like
Like,
Blood Pet.
yeah,
Yeah.
just crazy town good cards. And then red has some glory, not as much, but it's cool.
The thing I like too is your Blood Pet and your Skirk Prospector becomes get a mana, draw a card with Rakdos out. And I mean, like, I never thought Flamekin Harbinger would be in a deck again. After playing Bergie, it's a 1 drop, go tutor an elemental and put it on top of your deck. So it's a red creature that goes and gets a creature from your library. It's a red worldly tutor for elementals, which I think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. This it's got some really interesting cards in it, and it has a lot of old cards too, which is
Yeah.
nice to see. Like your sacrifice, I think, is in the list somewhere in there, and
Yeah.
um,
I will say, like, Sacrifice, it got signed by Dan Frazier during MagicCon, and he drew blood on it because they wouldn't let him put blood on it, I guess. So he finished the art for it for free. So the fact that I can play a Sacrifice signed by Dan Frazier where he put blood all over the body is like so cool. Like,
yeah, it's probably one of my favorite cards you got signed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, no, I think that I'd like to see this be a contender. It does have the speed.
Hmm.
So initially, my complaint with some of these commanders is how fast they can win, because we're in a meta where Rog size still is a thing. Um, but since this is also a contender, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and also I like that it's flexible. If I'm just like, I actually don't want the stuff on my deck, like my combo will not work anymore. You guys have shut me out. I can be like, but your combo will work. So give me. Like,
I will toss that out.
yeah.
No.
I'm gonna exile quite a few things. And if I hit Thassa and the combo, great. If I only hit half of the combo, also great. It's exiled. You don't get it anymore. like imagine, I don't think we've really played this with Sisay at the table, like you playing Sisay, where I'm just like, I actually don't want my stuff. I want Sisay stuff. Like,
Sisei's a little is interesting because I have a lot of big creatures and I have a lot of little creatures too.
yeah,
So, and then if you hit some of my pieces, it's like,
yeah.
well, that was cool.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not winning this one.
Well, I'm just gonna sit here, guys. Let me know when it's over.
And this is the last one. I tried to focus on just 10 to keep it somewhat of a reasonable length. We're at an hour and 30, so success.
This is as reasonable as y'all are
Yeah.
getting. We're next one's going to 7 hours.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Well, I mean, it'll be the 2024 year in review probably, so it
Oh,
might be that long.
jeez,
Uh,
like a
I mean,
48-hour
we'll do a two
special.
we'll do a two-parter where one of them starts in December and we don't finish it till January,
Jesus.
and it'll be a live stream. No. So Storm Force of Nature. This is the other one that I've been playing. I was lucky enough to get her not foil, unfortunately, but I'm just happy in general that I was able to get her. I didn't know that there was some like Reddit loophole where people could like go into the code and skip the queue, and that's how they got sold out before everybody that was
Oh,
waiting in
that's
line.
insane.
Yeah, like drama aside, I was very lucky to get Storm, and I did it in a way I didn't cheat the system, so I feel very good playing it.
I
Like,
didn't get it at all, and I am upset that people cheat.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure they're gonna do some other release or something, but, I really think that's probably the only reason we're not seeing more of Storm Force of Nature. I did cheat a little bit. She has not top 16, and I don't care. She's really good. So
Yeah,
she
I
is,
like her. I'll give it to you.
yeah, Storm Force of Nature, one generic, um, green, blue, red. So she's Rug. Um, Legendary creature, mutant hero, flying vigilance. When Storm deals combat damage to a player, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn has Storm. She's a 3/4. So she's a 3/4 flying vigilance that can just beat face, which is really cool. And then when she deals combat damage to a player, a basically like emblem but not an emblem goes on the stack, or like becomes a new rule in the game where if she goes away, once that happens, it's just a new rule. So like you have to remove Storm before she deals combat damage. You can't just go, "Oh, he's moving to combat. Like I'll just take care of it in main two." Like you've got to take care of her, you know. And you also don't know what the next instant or sorcery spell that I'm going to cast might be. You know, I'm kind of seeing some problems with her. So the deck that I play is called. I'm going to rename it. It's called Storm's Clown Car because she's just on the field. She'll smack somebody, and then all of a sudden, I'll Eldritch Evolution or I'll Neoform uh, creature combo to field, and then I'll just win. So she herself is a 4 cost. So if you Eldritch Evolution her, which you sack her, but her ability is still on the stack, and you still storm with it. So you'll Eldritch Evolution with a storm count of 1, sack her, you can go get Phyrexian Devour and Thassa's Oracle, and then you just win. Like the moment they hit the field,
So
Thassa goes on stack, Phyrexian Devour deletes your deck.
I
Game.
probably played against this deck for like a week now, and every chance I get, I sword storm.
Yeah.
There's no reason for her to be on the field. Just FYI.
Or Mind Break Trap my Storm stack, no matter what it
That is
is. Yeah.
awesome.
You can also Neoform her with Hermit Druid, Goro Goro, and Thassa's Oracle. So you need a storm count of at least 2 before you cast the Neoform to
Mm,
go get 3. And then you have to have green, red open. Um, so what you do there is you get Thassa's Oracle to field with her trigger on the stack. You play Goro Goro's creatures you control gain haste until end of turn for red. Then when that resolves with the Thassa's Oracle trigger still on the stack, you tap Hermit Druid for green,
and just go through it.
delete your deck,
Win.
Thassa Oracle back on stack, win. uh, it's pretty cool. It also has dual caster mage combo in it, which I think I'm taking out just because it doesn't really seem to go with Storm very well. Like I think her line is resilient enough to where you can just have Neoform and Eldritch Evolution
Mm,
and her, and really like that's all you need. The mulligans are pretty aggressive. Most part, I'm looking for Neoform and Eldritch Evolution. Sometimes I'm looking for a haste enabler to where I just play the haste enabler, play her, and that's my storm count of 2, and then I hit with her and Neoform all in the same turn. I'm starting to think that she might be more of a lay and wait commander, kind of like Rocco, where like I shouldn't play her for value. I should just keep my counters and stop people from winning. And then whenever I have the mana and the cards for the entire combo, I just cast
just
her
go ahead
out.
and plop it out. Yeah.
She's fun too because I'm also running as an instant spell, Price of Progress. So it's an instant. Price of Progress deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-land players that player controls. There's been times where I've just done a um,
Non-basic lands.
yeah,
Just
yeah, but that's pretty much all lands in CEDH, unless you're
yeah.
playing like Magda or
It's yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. I'll let you finish
So
it up.
like if your opponents have 5 non-basic lands, you're probably gonna have you have to have all non-basics because you're playing Hermit Druid, but you're running Daze, Gush, things that sacrifice lands like Orcish Lumberjack. So you're probably going to have lower lands than everybody else, and you can just price of progress the table for 40 damage with a storm count of 4. So you do have that backup of they've stopped me so much, I'm just gonna kill them, which I think is cool. And then also, if people aren't paying attention and they're all pretty low on health, like let's say somebody ad nauses and you have price of progress in your hand, you can for 2 mana have a bomb where they're like, I don't want to go anything below 5. I'll just go to like 8, and then you're like, how many lands do you have? You have 4 lands. Boom, you're dead.
Hmm.
So I think it's pretty fun. There's also like Valley Flood Collar shenanigans where again you kind of make your own Hullbreaker Horror, infinite storm count, infinite mana with a mana rock. You get storm out, find a way to haster. You've probably dug through your deck with infinite mana at this point in those colors, and you haster, and then you just lightning bolt, and there's 1,000 lightning bolts on the stack, and you're like, cool. Does anybody have a mind break trap? No. Oh, you
All
guys
day.
have like 3 counters in hand each? Cool. You can remove 9 of my 1,000 lightning bolts off the stack. I think she's really resilient. I will say that like playing her is a little bit. I need to figure out how to actually play her because I do notice that like the
You're
moment she's on the field, everybody's just terrified of her. And like there's times where I'm like, guys, all I want to do is manamorphose her with a storm count of 4. I'll draw 4 cards, get 8 colored mana. And then everybody's like, no. Like to me, I'm just like, that sounds really reasonable. Just 8 mana and 4 cards. What? Like, that guy's about to win. I'm trying to help us.
no, there's no. Yeah, no, just no.
I'm just glad that I have a deck that I can play counter spells,
Hmm.
Mystic Remora, and Rhystic Study. It's been a lot of fun. Like,
And if you really felt like it, Underworld Breach
yeah.
is there too. I mean, I think that the color combination for that is really interesting. Like
Hmm.
it's a cool combo.
Yeah.
And then her ability is probably one of the most unique we've seen
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out there. Like it's cool.
I think that Price of Progress bomb is so fun. I will say that probably is a pet card, but if you're not playing Storm and you don't have a way to just go, you made me mad. Everybody's gonna die. you know, like, and like technically, if you're in a situation where, uh, well, no, I don't think you could tie with Storm if you price a progress. Like, let's say you price a progress and you're like, I'm gonna kill everybody at the table. Uh, Once you kill yourself, then
They all go off
they
the
all
stack.
fall off the stack. So like,
Does it start with you?
so it's each player, so everybody loses at the same time. So like, let's say I price a progress for 5.
That's a really good judge question for me.
I'm pretty sure I know how it would work. I think that like the moment you die, everything would fall off the stack. But like, let's say I'm at 30 and everybody else is at 35, and I price a progress for 10, and everybody has 5 lands each. So like, I would tie the game because everybody would go to 25. I'd be at 23. Everybody go 13. I'd be at, or everybody go to 15. I'd be at 13. Everybody go to 5. I'd be at 3. And then on the last one, it resolved everybody would die at the same time. So it'd be a tie.
Mm, that's interesting.
Which I mean, like the ability to force a tie, not great.
Hard tie, like
Yeah,
not even a timeout tie.
yeah.
Like
We didn't agree to this. I just did it.
no,
Like
we just yeah, F them all.
it's like I saw my opportunity. I wasn't gonna pass, and I just decided to just take everybody else out and me with them. And then also just like Spellskite is so good
I
against Sisay. Like
hate spell
I
skite.
did not realize how good Spellskite is in CDH right now.
Jesus, do I hate that card.
It's like, oh, you want to untap something? Spellskite. Like two life Spellskite. All right, that is the last card in our review. I Hope you learned something. I hope you saw a commander that you're just like, I am kind of tired of my commanders. I want to build something new, and you guys gave me some inspiration. If you did see something that you liked, please let us know. If you need the deck list, I probably won't put them in the description because it's a lot of things. But if there's a specific one that you're just like, hey, that deck list that you guys were talking about, like I can't find it. Just ask for it in the comments and I'll put it down in a reply. And if
Yeah.
enough people ask, I'll actually take the time to put it in the description on all of the podcasts and everything like that.
Also, a lot of those lists are from top 16 winners or top 16
Yeah.
placers in different tournaments. So it's not necessarily, none of our decks are in there other than maybe
Storm.
your
My
storm is
storm
there.
list is in there, yeah.
But yeah,
And then my Muscle Daddy Rakdos is in there too.
muscle recto
So
steady.
20% of the decks, they're well, the Muscle Daddy is based off somebody that top 16, but I'll give you my list because it's
It's
better.
better,
Yeah, it's better.
100%
Yeah,
better.
I improved it. Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. Even if that comment is good job or you smell bad, we appreciate it. It lets people know to listen to the channel. If you're listening on your podcast, please give us a 5-star review if you haven't already. And if you feel like getting in contact with us, just check out the link tree. We've got our links to our social media and TCG Player affiliate link there. Please check it out. All right. See you guys next time.
Thank
Bye.
you guys. Have a good day.